News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. In just a moment, we have a Free Press exclusive. Remember the janitor who was taken hostage? Remember that picture, that iconic picture of him holding that terrorist to the wall, pushing him up against the wall? There's a story about who that guy is that he pushed up against the wall and who this janitor is. It's unbelievable. The juxtaposition is so telling of everything. So telling. That is coming up in moments. You're going to hear from him, too. I've got several pieces of audio from his 19-and-a-half-minute interview today that you do want to hear. You will want to hear. It's fantastic. It's Americana right there, this man. Okay, but first, Marsha Blackburn, U.S. Senator, and her colleague, U.S. Senator Roger Marshall, have introduced a No Flights for Terrorists Act that will take all these protesters that are supporting Hamas and terrorism and terrorizing Jews and attacking them verbally and physically, and it will put them on the Do Not Fly list. My question for you is simple. Do you support putting these professors and students on the Do Not Fly list if they've celebrated Hamas or called for violence against Jews? For example, here are some this is at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and here they are chanting. Now, remember, Intifada is a violent uprising where you're slaughtering Jews. That's what the definition of Intifada is. I've read you specifics of all the Jews that were slaughtered in terrorism. Jews blown up at a college cafe, including an Arab who was there. They murdered a Jew who was jogging. That was a student at that Hebrew University there in Jerusalem, and he was jogging, and Hamas mistook him or Hezbollah mistook him for a Jew, and they shot him 3 times to make sure he was dead. Once in the stomach, once in the head, and I can't remember the third place was. All because he was jogging and he looked like a Jew. That's the Intifada, and here's what they're calling for at Massachusetts Institute of Technology today.
Intifada, Intifada. We are the student Intifada. We are the student Intifada.
Just like they have that nice accent, like they're terrorists, Hamas in Gaza, as they say. We also have signs that they distributed. Destroy Zionist business interests everywhere. Death to Israel real estate. I don't know what that means. Death to Israeli real estate. I guess that means attack and destroy it. Death to America. Here's another sign they put up that New York police shared with the world. As for the resistance, strike them everywhere. To enemies, our war with you is long, and your losses are many. You will not find a truce from us. Here's another one. Enough with de-escalation trainings. Where are the escalation trainings? We can choose to prioritize escalation trainings. We welcome outside agitators to our struggle against ruthless genocide of Palestinian people. We are all outside agitators. And there was an Arabic, Islamic Arabic text below that. The bill calls for disciplinary actions. If you have disciplinary actions relating to supporting terrorists, any individual who has openly pledged support for, espoused allegiance, or affiliation to any terrorist organization that has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the Secretary of State, IRCG, that's the Republican Guard, that's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, I should say, from the Iranians, Hamas, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Hezbollah, it's pronounced Hezbollah, but it's spelled Hiz, H-I-Z, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Palestinian Liberation Front, and there's a whole bunch more, like Kateb, Hezbollah. Any individual who solicits, commands, induces, or otherwise endeavors to persuade another person to engage in a crime of violence against Jews or Jewish people because of their race or religion, a student enrolled, a professor enrolled who are found, to have done these things, all of them go on Do Not Fly list. I'm not comfortable sitting next to these terrorists. Are you? I don't want them on our planes. Do you? I want to remind you of what a Holocaust survivor. There's a beautiful segment this afternoon on Fox News, the show that's from noon to 2. America's Newsroom, I think it's called. That's the one with Dana Perry in the morning. Anyways, the one from noon to 2. Anyways, there was a Jewish grandmother who survived the Holocaust. She was 6 years old when she saw them shoot and kill her grandma. She was 6 years old when her mom and her went to the concentration camp. They went to Auschwitz. She now lives here as an American, a proud Israeli Jewish American. Not Israeli, but Jewish American. and her grandson is a college student, and they both were interviewed together today. It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And she said today that what we're seeing on these campuses is exactly what she saw in her country before they started slaughtering Jews. The next step is to murder the Jews. The next step is to murder the Jews. This Holocaust survivor said today, the next step is to murder the Jews. They're going to kill them next. And if you want to kill them, you're going to go through me. And you're going to go through all of us. This is real, and we need to take them at their word and kick them the hell off of our planes. Excuse my language. Do you support this? Putting them on a do not fly list. Take them at their word. Do you also support like a database for employers to access for these terrorists? Do you want to fly with them? Do you trust them? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Yeah, I don't trust them at all. Imagine if you trigger them. What will they do to you? They'll beat you. They'll yell at you. They'll scream at you. I don't know what. They'll ruin your flight. They might get it canceled. But worse yet, they might want to kill a Jew on the plane. I don't know. I don't trust them. Do you trust them not to radicalize themselves? They're already radicalized. Do you trust them not to blow themselves up? I mean, they're praising the slaughter of Hamas. Remember that one professor said it was exhilarating. He loved it. Seeing all the Jews slaughtered, raped, and killed and treated like worse than cattle, little children raped and babies beheaded and raped. So no, I don't want any of these people on our planes. That's one of the things I wanted to share with you. Meantime, voters are actually demanding a crackdown on these protests. They're demanding expulsions, financial penalties to restore the campuses and everything. A brand new Daily Mail poll shows. I'll give you details on that in a moment. Bill and McKinney, you're on 8020 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Bill.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Great. I was just listening to some of the comments, and, I think if there are foreign nationals that were involved in these protests, that they also should be deported and all their papers and everything.
Yes.
So,
Joe Biden will never do that at all, as you know, but they should. And I pray that Donald J. Trump will do that.
Yes,
and I think he would.
Retroactively, if he gets in, if they don't steal the election again, I think yes.
Right, absolutely.
He should definitely do that.
Good. And would you trust one of these people to be next to them on an airplane? Would you want to be next to them?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they're one step away from killing a Jew or killing us if we're with the Jews. Yep.
Exactly.
Appreciate your call, Bill. Thank you so much, brother. Okay, the Columbia custodian. Number's 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. By the way, next I want to get to this. The Columbia custodian who was trapped by the terrorists at Columbia University and held hostage, he speaks in a 19-and-a-half-minute interview. I watched it. I've got some audio to play for you. I'm going to tell you what he said, but what's really must hear. Remember that picture of him? The iconic picture of the janitor pushing up against the wall, one of these terrorists. I actually, you'll hear him talk about this, and the Free Press, who has this exclusive interview with him, they have who this kid is, and he's not a kid at all. He's an adult, and they have who he is and what he's all about, and it's going to make you go, oh my gosh. And the juxtaposition between a janitor who makes $19 an hour versus this person is stunning. It tells the story for you. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. All this, including the audio with the janitor, is next on The Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm so happy this interview came out today and that we have audio of it. Okay, I will ask, as I like to do, I like to have a producer, Garrett, as my guinea pig and ask him some questions. Okay, and I'll also ask my newsman on the program, Sean, this question. You guys can just do a guesstimate here. All right. The custodian at Columbia that was held captive there is a 45-year-old man named Mario Torres, and he makes $19 an hour. He's worked there for 5 years. Take a guess how much the house that the 40-year-old that he held up against you remember he pinned the guy up against the wall? Take a guess how expensive his house is. The terrorist in there that he held up, that he pushed up against the wall and held. Take a guess how old he is. Or excuse me, take a guess how expensive the house is that he lives in. Mm-hmm. Not per year. How much do you think his house costs? The terrorist that he lives in a house, how much does it cost? He's 40, by the way. He has his own house. Take a guess what it's worth. That's a better way of saying it. No. The 40-year-old kid that he pinned against the wall, the janitor pinned against the wall, it was a terrorist. He's a 40-year-old trust fund kid. His name is James Carlson. He owns a townhouse in Brooklyn with $2.3 million. So a 40-year-old terrorist who is a trust fund adult, a trust fund man, owns a townhouse in Brooklyn worth $2.3 million, and there he is holding a $19 an hour janitor hostage and terrorizing him. Let's hear some audio from the janitor who decided to bravely speak out.
Now, I know they're funded by someone. You know they're funded by someone. People know that they're funded. We figured that out when we saw all the same color tents, and then it came out in the news that NYU has the same color tents. Someone's funding them. We found out who this paid agitator is. He's worth millions. I'm not, right? So someone's got deep pockets. I don't want to piss people off. You know, I'm easy to find. You can find me. My name is out. You can find me. I'm sure you can. If they have that kind of money, they can find me if they want to. So I don't want to touch that situation at all.
Okay, here's also what he said to the Free Press.
First, they pulled the alarm because the alarm was ringing, and then they put tables and chairs to block it. Like they stuffed that elevator with furniture, so it was done. So I couldn't go down, and I basically managed to, you know, someone was able to calm me down and say, look, you know, I'm going to let you out. We're going to let you out. We're going to let you out. Just calm down. I was freaking out. You know, at that point, I'm thinking about my family. Right?
Why did you freak out?
Why did I freak out? How was I going to get out? Through the window? No. And look, and I'm glad I did because, you know, I know the cops went in there, you know, and there was a story about a cop, you know, discharging his firearm. You know, let's say they stormed in early. They wouldn't know who we are. It's just scary just thinking that you're locked in with a bunch of crazies, you know. What I want to get out. That's the only thing you're thinking of is getting out.
So there it is. A $19 an hour janitor grabbed one of these terrorists, shoved him up against the wall. You've seen the picture. And he's a 40-year-old trust fund kid named James Carlson who owns a townhouse in Brooklyn worth $2.3 million. Meanwhile, Mario Torres, who you just heard, has worked at Columbia where the average janitor makes less than $19 an hour for 5 years. We don't expect to go to work and get swarmed by an angry mob with rope and duct tape and masks and gloves. They came from both sides of the staircases. They came through the elevators. They were just rushing. It was like they had a plan. It was like they had a plan, he said, with zip ties, duct tape, and masks. Just more of them just multiplied, came pouring in. At one point, he remembers looking up, and I noticed the cameras in the building. The cameras are covered. This was definitely planned, he says. And by the way, he says the cameras were 20 feet up in the air. He's like, somebody came in there with ladders and covered up all the cameras. He says he was trying to protect the building. The terrorist, 40-year-old trust fund kid that lives in a $2.5 million house was later charged with 5 felonies, including burglary, reckless endangerment. He says, I was freaking out at that point of thinking about my family. How was I going to get out through the window? He added that he's worried Columbia might take disciplinary action against him for speaking out. He worries about losing a job that he absolutely loves. He worries about supporting his young family. Is Columbia going to retaliate and find a reason to fire me now? Is someone going to come after me? I'm taking a big risk doing this, but I think they failed. They failed us, and I think that's the bigger story. They failed us. They should have done more to protect us, and they didn't. And by the way, he still feels unsafe. They know who he is, like he said. They can destroy him. And Joe Biden lets this happen. In fact, we've learned, as you know, that the very people funding this are the same people that are massive Biden donors. Did you know that? George Soros is one of the massive funders of this terrorism, and he's a massive donor to Joe Biden. The Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefellers, are big supporters of Joe Biden, and they support this and fund this terrorism to the tunes of lots and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. The Pritzkers, of the Hyatt hotel chain, the Pritzker family out of Chicago, they are huge funders of the terrorists, and they are huge funders of Joe Biden's campaign. So these are Joe Biden filthy rich campaign donors that are also funding the terrorism. That's it. Joe Biden's supporters are funding the terrorism on our campuses. They're funding attacking Jews, terrorizing Jews, calling them names, shoving them, physically attacking them, telling them to go back to Poland, calling for Hamas to finish the job for the Intifada, which is to uprise and kill every Jew you can get your hands on. Kill them all. To point to where the Hamas military wing, which is who killed and raped all those Jews, raping women, raping babies, raping children, little girls, pointing to where the Jewish people gathering to protest their protests, and says that that's where the Hamas military should go to finish the job and kill and rape all those Jews there. Meantime, I will be sharing with you two more things coming up next. Listen to this. You're going to like this. Some of these terrorist students on one campus don't know how to spell Palestine. They misspelled it. I'll tell you where that is and what they said and how they spelled it. Also, UNC Chapel Hill, we thought it was over, right? With the frat boys and the cops putting it down and the chancellor putting it down. Guess what? Now the professors are taking action to hurt the students. That is coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. We also will be getting into, after that, we're going to get into this. It's coming up in the next segment. Oh, yeah, this is great. A neighbor leaves a furious 94-word rant on a windshield because of a selfish driver, quote-unquote, parked on the road in front of her house. That's next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Here's a brand new poll from the Daily Mail. 58% of adults, 58% of people want students kicked out for making anti-Semitic comments. Nearly half say all protesters should lose out on student loan forgiveness. No kidding, exactly. How could it be nearly half? It should be like all of them. Who would want to forgive terrorists? There's no forgiveness. We're paying for it. What they should say is, do you mind paying for somebody's education? And do you further mind if they're harassing Jews and are anti-Israel and support terrorists? So that is very interesting. Meantime, this is where I really wanted to get into. This is fun. A neighbor leaves a furious 94-word rant on your windshield because she says you're a selfish driver parked on her road outside of her house. Uh-oh. I'm going to read you the letter in just a second. But I want to ask you, have you ever seen people fighting back against cars parked in front of their homes? Because I have a story about myself, and I have a story about one of my former colleagues, and what they did. It surprised me about people parking in front of their house overnight or during the day. And have you seen people fight back at public parking places like grocery stores, drug stores, etc.? Like fight back meaning, like, do they leave a note? Do they leave a nasty grandma on there? Do they intentionally hit the car, give it a door ding or something? For example, have you seen people mess with folks that double park? Those idiots that double park on purpose because they got a nice car, something like that. They're like those people are. You're literally you're targeting yourself to get your car keyed. I mean, you are. My rule is don't do anything that makes you stick out like a sore thumb. Which includes no bumper stickers. I don't want to deal with somebody bashing a light in or smashing a window. I want to live my life and not. I don't need a political statement on my car. I don't want that. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with some twit who doesn't know me yelling at me or something. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. Basically, I don't want to make my car a target because I don't want to have to pay out of my own pocket to pay for a window or something because some idiot saw something they didn't like. So that's my question for you. Have you seen people fight back against cars parked in front of their homes? And how have you seen people fight back at public parking spaces like grocery stores, drugstores, etc.? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Maybe you saw somebody park and handicapped and approach them. Maybe you've seen somebody double parked and approach them. Or maybe you've seen somebody else approach them and get nasty with them. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Neighbor leaves furious 94-word rant on windshield of selfish driver's car parked on road outside of their house. Okay, in a note, the resident claims the car has now left them unable to park their car on the street. Chastising the unknown driver is cheap and environmentally unfriendly. That's interesting. All right, here we go. I'm a selfish commuter who comes and parks badly on your street, taking up too much room because I can't park. I come each day. This is literally taped to their windshield. I come each day and park here, then walk to work elsewhere, probably because I'm too cheap to pay for parking or be sensible and more environmentally conscious to take the bus. I do this and park taking up so much space that you can't park here, and I don't care because I'm a single commuter in a car, and I don't care that you now can't park on your own road. Did she do it okay? I assume this is a woman, not a man. I don't think a man would do that. 94 words? I think a man, if he was going to leave a note, wouldn't have a typed out note like this, like typed up on a computer and printed and taped to their windshield. I think a man would just put a napkin on there and put it, don't park here again or else, or something, or don't park here, it's not going to work out well for you. If somebody left you a note like that on your windshield, you know what I mean? Just a little note, or you can rip a piece of paper in half and write on there, don't park here again, it won't work out well for your car, and then leave it under their, I'm not saying you should do that, I'm just saying that would be a man. This is a woman. It has left residents divided. Well, this must be a train stop or something, what do they call it, the tube. Must be a tube stop by someone's house. I don't know. That's a little bit too much. So I wouldn't do that. But here, there was a guy I work with here at he's not here anymore. He's been gone for years. But he was mad. He was telling me, it kind of came up naturally, and he's like, oh, I got people, they parked in the middle of the day. I go out there, and I'm like, he's like the nicest, sweetest guy in the world. And he was like going out and yelling at them. I'm like, when people would park in front of his house in the middle of the day, I'm like, whoa. I can't stand it when people park. You know what I like? When people ask me. I've got neighbors that we've gotten to know a little bit, and like we have a very good relationship with. I've loaned them stuff. They have loaned me stuff, and they were so kind. And they said, "Hey, can we park in front of your house for the night? My girlfriend's got a thing she's towing or whatever." And I'm like, "That's sure, no problem." I was exceptionally happy because he asked me. In my community, you cannot park overnight in front of somebody's house unless you have permission overnight between like 2 a.m. and I think it's between 2 and 8. Very good ordinance, isn't it? Because that way you can get in trouble. We had people that would do this crap. So eventually, we talk to them, and if they don't do it, eventually we have the cops ticket them, and they can. It depends on what the situation is in your community. It might be a citation, or it might be a thing from the city, but also if it's parking, it's probably with the cops. And my cops have no problem doing it. And they would leave a nice little nasty gram on there, a little sticker. And if it happens again, they can write them a ticket or have the car towed. So, all it is being a good neighbor. A good neighbor asks. Now, if it's during the day, I overlook it pretty much because it's during the day. I kind of like, I like the city's guidance on it. If there's there's an overnight thing. So if I see you overnight, I'm going to start doing stuff. If you ask, I'm going to be like beyond accommodating because that's what neighbors are for. And also, I think it's my duty, as hard as it is, you could go knock on someone's door. Hey, is that your car? Hey, I wouldn't mind would you mind if you moved it because I have people that come and go. And my kids have kids that come and go. We have people, so. And my son parks the car out there in front anyway, so one guest in our front is almost taken up. I have not seen somebody do something bad from double parking or parking in handicap. I've been so tempted over the years to go up to people that don't have a handicap sticker and don't look handicapped at all. But I'm also I have heard enough stories about people that are qualified for it, and people come to them and start screaming at them, and they legitimately qualify for it. And for some reason, it's not on their license plate. So I don't mess with people. I don't want to do that. I'll grumble to myself if they look like they're fine, but I don't get into it. I don't want to get into it. But I love it when our cops nail people for parking in handicap spots. I very much love that. Remember that for about 2-3 years on this show, we were railing against Jimmy John's. The Jimmy John's right here at Victory Park. You know why? They're freaky fast because they park in handicap spots all the time. And I took so many pictures. My old producer and I, we took so many pictures of the car and put them up on Twitter, and my producer would do it, and if I didn't catch one or parked after, we would do it, and we would put it out there, and the corporate Jimmy John's pretended to care, and they said they would talk to the franchisee, and they pretended to care. They never stopped. I don't know what's going on with them anymore, if they still do it, but I can tell you the one there at West Victory Plaza, here at West Victory Park, whatever, downtown by the W, they don't care. And they never changed their ways, and the corporate didn't care either. They're freaky fast by parking in handicap spots. That was my experience with that location. Screwing handicapped people so we can make an extra buck for the tip. So, and they did not care. We pounded them all the time. They just didn't care. They pretended to care. Lip service on the Twitter feed, and they never did anything. Yeah, that's a problem if you live by a subway. But, on the same token, if that's your job to have your city council member or whatever your city work on it with you and pass something to go after them or ticket them and to call the authorities. Here is another note that somebody else left on somebody else's car for a parking situation. This is all from the Daily Mail. In a similar situation last year, a war of words erupted in one neighborhood in the exchange of angry messages posted on cars that were cars parked in a row over parking, with this response to the initial note: "Would you please kindly refrain from parking on the grass, as it will rut the surface and make it look unsightly. Thank you." Somebody writes back at him: "If this was you, first and foremost, do not ever put something on my new car, as it is private property. Secondly, I pay road tax and can park wherever I want." Well, back and forth, as it were. Back and forth and back and forth. Okay, coming up next. One of the Fox anchors talked about how Stormy Daniels today in the testimony of the Trump trial there in New York, how Stormy Daniels has a lot of experience with her experience with her acting has really paid off in the trial, and it showed off well with her being a good witness. She reportedly was a good witness as far as how she handled herself up there and came across. So I said, well, okay, it's her acting experience. So let's take a look at her acting experience. I'll be sharing that with you coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Okay, so Jillian Turner was filling in today for Sandra Smith on, I can't remember the name of the show, from noon to 2, the one right before Martha McCallum. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a good show too. But she was, and Jillian Turner seems like a great, nice gal, but she made a remark about, well, yeah, they're saying that Stormy Daniels actually was a good witness. Honestly, that's something I truly believe. It's like what I do as a talk show host. You either have it or you don't. Like, you're either going to be a good witness or you're not. Just the way you've been made and created, you either can flow on the way you talk and are outgoing, or you're more like reserved and have trouble saying what needs to be said. I mean, people get nervous a lot of times. Remember, there's like public speaking, they say, is the one that is like is just as bad as death for some people. My daughter, for her dual credit, she has to take either a speech class or there's a couple other type of classes she can take to qualify for that. And she's like, she'll do anything to not take the speech class. I'm not going to try to force her. It's her decision. She's in college, even though it's dual credit, it's still college. So and she's doing great. So I'm gonna just let that one slide. Now, but when Jillian Turner said that, Stormy Daniels is a good actress, she said, well, it figures since she's got a lot of, she's an actor. An actor? Now, you know what's interesting? Supposedly she was in a few pictures, like real pictures. I'm like, what? We'll see. I'll double check, because right here it says some of these are pretty ridiculous. But some of the movies were looked legitimate, but I'm like, it can't be her in that. I don't know. But I will tell you this. Here's the ones we do have. So this is who, I guess this is her acting experience. There's just too many. Honestly, there's 13 pages worth of titles. She's prolifically in front of a camera, but unfortunately it's not for the right reasons. Acting experience. Big Busted Goddesses of Las Vegas. Is that really acting? Bubba Raw. By the way, I'm not saying any of the ones that are like, no, that's not appropriate. California. No. Dual Airbags. Dumb Blonde. Hell on High Heels. Happy Ending. These are not acting movies. There's no acting here. They're what? Schlock? What does schlock mean? Garbage. Thank you. Garbage porn films, as producer Garrett says. That's exactly right. Operation Desert Stormy. Operation Tropical Stormy. They're getting desperate for titles. I have to go through, a whole bunch of Trailer Trash Nurses 6. All right, that's more than enough. And the point being is that's not acting. No. So there she was. But no, I mean, it is what it is. If she's comfortable in front of a camera, well, obviously to do some of those things, you're comfortable in front of a camera. My gosh. Okay, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. You don't want to get into a fender bender. Did you know why? I mean, nobody wants to get one, period. But did you know, I kind of figured this out, but we have so many sensors and high-tech stuff on our cars now that even tiny little fender benders can be wildly expensive. A lengthy piece in CNN was written up on this today. And the change we've seen, says one of these mega body shops across the country, the change we've seen in the last 5 years is greater than what we've seen probably in the last 5 decades. This is why, with one minor little thing with my one of my cars, there's one that's a 2014, one's a 2017. One minor little thing with 2017 was insanely expensive because there's sensors in them. Like there's sonar, radar, and there, it knows the distance of the car in front of you, and also even those side things that say somebody's on the side of you. It's the what is it called? You know what I mean? And your rear view, side view mirror. Yeah, rear view mirror. No, it's not. Well, not the rear view mirror, but the side mirrors, side view mirror. Those ones will have a little thing that flashes or have a certain color, and then it lights up that says somebody's in your blind spot. Those sensors. What's stunning to me on my car? Even today when I'm pulling out of my driveway, okay, I can't see out of one side at all because the fence goes all the way to the back, right? So I'm pulling out of my driveway, and then I get and I'm like 10 feet from the alley, and there's no one behind me because it sensed a car that was coming towards me in the alley was coming. So it knew a car was coming toward me through the fence, through 2 layers of fence. It's like the side that was parallel to me and the side that was on the other side, parallel with the alley. It was stunning. But that's what it does. But if I get hit there, and there's even sensors in some of the fenders and panels, so it's just like, and every time something happens and they have to work on it or something's happened to it, they have to recalibrate it. And the recalibration is different for every manufacturer. I mean, this is ridiculous. I am so much happier with my 2014 than I am with my 2017, including all this electronic transmission stuff. It sucks. When you punch it, it hesitates. I'm like, what is this? When I punch it in my 2014, boom! And they both have the same 6-cylinder type engine, and they're both the same cars.